We'll call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council. It's Monday, November 8th, 2021 at 7:04 in the evening. Before we begin, please note that all public meetings will be recorded. When a participant logs in via their computer or calls in to join the meeting, their name and/or phone number will be visible to all participants. Unless you're providing public comment, your audio will be muted and your video will be disabled. Persons wishing to be audience members to the meeting may do so anonymously. Anonymous participants, however, will not be recognized for public comment. Persons who seek to bypass the city's host controls will be dropped and blocked from the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Santa Ynez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Here.
Councilmember Hamada,
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Here.
Mayor Coops.
Here. At this time, we'll have the invocation, which will be offered by Councilmember Santa Ynez, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance provided by Joel Hockman, Director of Public Safety. Please stand with me.
Please bow your head in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life, the gift of family, the gift of this community called City of Bellflower. We thank you for all the blessings you've given us. We thank you for our wonderful city. We thank you for our dedicated staff. We thank you for giving us members of our military, first responders, and police. Please keep them safe as they keep us safe. As we celebrate Veterans Day this week, we remember, we honor, and we thank all the members of our armed forces, especially those who've given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you for allowing us to meet tonight to discuss the business of our great city. As we discuss the items before us, please enlighten us and guide us and give us the wisdom to decide what's best for our great city. We ask all this through your Son, Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you, now and forever. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. There should be an image of our nation's flag appearing on the screen shortly. And if you would be so kind as to place your hand over your heart and join me in saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Santa Ynez and Mr. Hockman. Council comments. This Wednesday, November 10th, from 10 a.m. to noon, we will honor our military veterans with a ceremony and resource fair at the Veterans Memorial located at 9918 Flower Street. The event is open to the public. For more information, contact 562-804-1424, extension 2267. Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton.
Thank you, Mayor. Be sure to mark your calendars for the annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which is set for Friday, December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. downtown Bellflower. Local residents and neighboring communities are welcome and invited to this free event, filled with carolers, crafts, and real snow sledding. Santa Claus will make an appearance and meet with the children to take a photo and also listen to their holiday wishes. For more information, call 562-804-1424 at extension 2261. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Bellflower. The Fair Housing Foundation will be holding a virtual fair housing workshop via Zoom from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. next Wednesday, November 17th. This workshop is free and open to the public. Attendees will learn about fair housing laws, COVID-19 protections, and much more. For more information, contact the Fair Housing Foundation at 1-800-446-3247 or visit www.fhfca.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Councilmember Sonny Santa Ynez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The Stand-Up Comedy Club will be having a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Wednesday, November 10th at 4 p.m. This event is free and open to the public. The Stand-Up Comedy Club is located at 9831 Belmont Street. For more information, please call 562-202-9944. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Santa Ynez. Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Bellflower Chamber of Commerce invites businesses, service clubs, and the community to join their monthly morning mingle, which will take place Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For more information, please call the Bellflower Chamber of Commerce at 562-867-1744. And the last 2 months have been very well attended, standing room only. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hamada. Public comments, Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the City Council on matters not listed on the agenda. Those wishing to speak on an agenda item must utilize one of the methods listed on page 2 of the agenda. You will be given 3 minutes to address the City Council. Attempts to provide comment at times not designated on the agenda may result in the city dropping you from the meeting.
If you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand feature. If by computer, it appears under the Participants tab. If by phone app, it will appear under the More button at the bottom right-hand corner. Or if by telephone, press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. You will be called upon in the order received. You can then unmute your microphone so that you can provide your comments. Do we have any comments at this time?
Mayor, we have a raised hand for Christopher. If you could please identify yourself by your full name and allow me to get the timer up on the screen as well.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Christopher Perez, and I am Congresswoman Roybal Allard's new field deputy, representing the wonderful city of Bellflower. As you may know, Congresswoman Roybal Allard has proudly represented the residents of Bellflower in the United States House of Representatives for over 20 years. Therefore, it is an honor to be here as her field deputy for Bellflower. In the past, you may have contacted our former field deputy, Kim Tachiki, for any inquiries. I invite you to contact me with any questions, comments, and concerns. I would also be very interested to know how our office can support you all, as well as the city of Bellflower and its wonderful residents. I have left my contact information with City Clerk Ochiki so that you are able to reach out to me. I will also be attending the city Veteran Day event this Wednesday at the Veterans Memorial. I look forward to meeting you in person there. And to the residents watching from home, we also encourage you to contact our office and learn more about our constituent services. Our constituent caseworkers are available to help with a wide range of federal matters, including problems with Social Security and Medicare benefits, immigration visas, and veterans benefits. And please visit roybal-allard.house.gov for more information. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you, Christopher. We look forward to seeing you on our Veterans Day event.
Likewise.
Do you have any other comments at this time?
Mayor, I'm not seeing any further raised hands at this time.
Thank you. So we have no public hearings tonight. Ordinance and resolutions for consideration, 12A. Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration of possible action to read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1411, an ordinance adding chapter 13.36 to the Bellflower Municipal Code regarding mandatory organic waste disposal reduction. And Natalie Rivera Estrada will make the staff report for us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight's presentation will review ordinance number 1411, an ordinance adding chapter 13.36 to the Bellflower Municipal Code regarding mandatory organic waste disposal reduction. Here's some background on SB 1383. SB 1383 is the most significant waste reduction mandate to be adopted in California in the last 30 years. SB 1383 requires cities to be responsible for implementing SB 1383 regulations in their communities. SB 1383 requires cities to have a mandatory organic recycling ordinance in place by January 1, 2022. This slide lists the responsibilities placed by CalRecycle. All single-family residential, multifamily residential, and commercial businesses must recycle organic waste. They must establish an edible food recovery program that recovers edible food from the waste stream. Tier 1 and Tier 2 commercial edible food generators must have a program to donate edible food. The city is required to inspect and enforce compliance with SB 1383 and maintain accurate records of compliance. Below are the waste generator requirements. Single-family waste generators are automatically required to source separate waste into the existing 3-cart system. There will be no change in residential collection. Food scraps will be collected with green waste in the green waste container. Multifamily and business waste generators must subscribe to 3-container collection services. They have the option to adjust service levels to fit service needs. Businesses must provide containers for the collection of trash, organic waste, and recyclable materials in all indoor and outdoor areas where disposal is available for customers, excluding restrooms. Businesses may apply for a de minimis or physical space waiver. There is also a requirement for commercial edible food generators to enroll in an edible food recovery program where they donate edible food for human consumption that would otherwise expire or be disposed of. The regulations break this down into Tier 1 and Tier 2 generators. Tier 1 generators include supermarkets, grocery stores, and food service providers. These generators must comply with edible food recovery by January 1, 2022. Tier 2 includes large restaurants, health facilities, large venues, large events, and local education facilities. Tier 2 generators must comply with edible food recovery by January 1, 2024. As far as implementation efforts go, on March 22, 2021, City Council considered and approved a proposed solid waste rate adjustment that included SB 1383 organic waste collection and recycling program and established the rates for this service. On January 1, 2022, CR&R will begin accepting food scraps in addition to green waste in the green waste residential containers. In October 2021, city staff began outreach efforts notifying the community about upcoming SB 1383 implementation and its requirements in the e-Citizen, the city's social media platforms, inserts in CR&R billings, and on the city's and CR&R's websites. The recommendation to the City Council is to read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1411, or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. With that, I conclude my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We also have CR&R staff on Zoom to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions from council of staff?
Not seeing any, I'll go ahead and make a motion to read by title only.
Sonny's got a question. Hold that thought.
Natalie, thank you so much for the presentation. It's just reading this this item tonight is just kind of makes my blood pressure go up.
Yes.
Not because of the presentation, but because of what Sacramento is doing. I think it's for I admire their determination to separate those food waste so that it doesn't go to landfill. I get that. It's a very noble cause. But couple of questions here. In terms of, you mentioned about the tier 1, tier 2 food generators are obliged, they must donate, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember a few years back when restaurants were donating food and people got ill and they sued the restaurants and then it basically stopped. So did they address the liability issue in terms of food being spoiled?
Yeah, so I believe they do mention, I believe it's the Good Samaritan Act that protects the businesses from any
So with
of
that
those
law,
liabilities.
they're kind of protected. There's no
Yes.
liability in terms of the restaurants, businesses donating food.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. I'm glad they did that. Now, also, you mentioned about there's going to be some penalties for non-compliance come 2024.
Yes, so
So what
there,
kind of penalties are we looking at and what kind of violation?
so there would be penalties for non-compliance after issuing a notice of violation. So after 60 days, if they don't comply, there would be a fee or a penalty. I believe the first offense would be $100. Then the second violation would be $200, and then the third would be $500.
Okay, and also you mentioned about the city could also face fines from the state. So
Yeah, so the city could face fines if we don't show that we're enforcing compliance with SB 1383, and those could be up to $10,000 per day.
okay, that's the key. That's where my blood pressure goes up in terms of mandate.
Yes.
So they're asking the city to do something, but I'm assuming this is an unfunded mandate.
Correct.
Okay, so maybe you're not ready yet, but how does the city intend to enforce this? What's the plan?
So I'll defer to.
I'm asking about enforcement. How does the city plan to enforce SB 1383? Because it seems like there's going to be a penalty on the city if we don't do our task mandated by the state.
Correct.
So,
So there's a program that CRNR is putting together. So in addition to the way they will work with their cities, our own staff will also be tasked with going out and evaluating the locations, the various sites, and making sure that they are in compliance. So it will kind of be a two-headed monster approach to going and working through the different accounts, whether it's a single-family, multifamily, or business account. But it's going to take a lot of effort, and again, it's an unfunded mandate, so it comes back on us to supply the personnel, as well as CRNR supplying the personnel to enforce the requirements from the Senate bill.
so do you, from a practical perspective, do you envision staff opening the trash barrel to make sure that they are classified in the right way? Are we getting into that?
I would hope not, but I do not know. It's too early to tell, really. I mean, it's the requirement starts on January 1st. The rollout that CRNR will do, obviously there's so many accounts here in the city that not everybody, like commercial multifamilies, are not just going to get new bins the very first day. There's going to be a rollout process. They'll phase them across the city, either in quadrants or what have you, but there will be a process in which they have to do it. It's going to be a very big learning curve for us. And experience will dictate that when you do have an offender, you're either going to bring it to their attention and they fix it right then or there, or they become a habitual offender. They just don't care, they don't want to listen, and they'll never follow the rules. So that kind of sorts itself out. You know who your problem customers are, and then the ones that you are identifying as being not in compliance, once you make them aware of everything, then they tend to kind of get with the program, and things go along pretty well with them. But when you have your habitual offenders, it'll be a matter of us going out and possibly, like you said, lifting lids and looking to make sure that they're sorting everything out correctly.
It won't be an aggressive enforcement.
Yeah.
They haven't provided any funding for it. If the state wants aggressive enforcement, they will provide funding for that sort of enforcement. Until then, it's going to be mostly report and complaint driven.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we know what we're doing, because the state always does, implement something, and then it forces it to do something, and then it's not funded.
Right.
And we don't know the exact rules right now.
Exactly, because they haven't,
So-
the rules aren't down yet. Eventually, they'll force those rules downhill, and we'll be forced to do something programmatically, but we're not there yet. So, like Len said, we're going to feel our way around this at the beginning at least. And there'll be some enforcement efforts, but we're not going to be lifting lids at every business and doing that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
because to
We'll
really
have the time,
make it
yeah.
right, there has to be some kind of verification. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's one of the expectations from the state.
That would not be an expectation. It's being practical. We just don't have the staff to do it. It won't happen that way.
Okay, well, I guess it remains to be seen. But on a positive note, I received this letter from CRNR with last month's bill, and I really appreciate the information from CRNR. It's very clear. I can follow it, and I hope that our residents just read it. It's very simple. And one of my last comment here is, I think we just need to be ready with. I expect some more rodents, cockroaches, going into the trash barrel. So, and one of the things that CRN mentioned is the compostable bags. So I was wondering if we can help our residents get those bags for health reasons, so they can bag it and then put it in the grain container, because
Yeah.
plastic bags are not allowed. If you can talk to it, you
Yeah,
can discuss with
yeah.
CRNR and see if we can do something about
I'm
it.
not sure if Crystal's on the call. She
Yeah.
might be able to answer this one for us.
She is on the call.
Or maybe
Yeah.
maybe they can direct our residents where to buy it at a cheaper price, something like that. Anything that we can help our residents to keep our city safe and healthy, I think that would be a big plus. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. San Ynez.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask Mr. Gurecki a question.
Please don't leave, Lynn.
Just a quick point of clarification. It was my understanding that there wouldn't be a fourth bin. Am I mistaken?
For single-family residential, there
There-
will not be an additional bin being added to what everybody has already. So everybody, if you're a single-family residential account, then you will just utilize your existing green cart that you have right now for your green waste. If you're a multifamily, or if you're a business, then you are now going to be subscribing to a 3-cart program. So right now, if you only have 2 carts, you're now going to be required to have a 3rd cart. And then that gets into the whole issue of, do the businesses and do the multifamilies, do they have space for an additional cart? And there's a process that's in the ordinance that allows us to evaluate on case-by-case situations and perhaps approve waiver request, simply if there's physically no space to add an additional cart. So that's going to be, not only in the enforcement end that Councilmember San Ynez was asking about, but just trying to figure out between the 13,000 accounts that we have here with 2 staff people, which ones can accommodate a new bin and not. It's going to be an arduous process for us. So.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Any questions of staff over here?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Again, you're okay, Len. I just wanted to again point out that this is going to probably take some major education, and definitely, hopefully, again, staff can go through our normal channels, the social media, the website, everything, to get the word out. Because, as mentioned, rodents, critters, if those lids are left open with food, it's going to be a crazy time here in town. So again, just wanted to just to reiterate that point is, I know this is, again, taken a while to get here, and it's been a challenge, but it's a good start, and we're just gonna have to hopefully work with it. I mean, this is a dynamic process, so I mean, again, I would anticipate, changes in the future. So, so with that, again, thank you, staff, for the report, and we're gonna hopefully look for some good luck on this. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Dutton, I'm ready for you.
I'm out of the mood now. I wanted
Yeah.
to get it gone.
Yeah.
Does anybody in this room think their wife is not going to put scraps down the garbage disposal? Does anybody really in this room or in the Bellflower, you got a garbage disposal in every resident in the house out there? Do you think those are not going to get used?
Yes, they will.
I believe there's going to be a time when California bans garbage disposals. It's coming. But you're going to have to replace that garbage disposal. You're going to have to buy it out of state. That's what I forecast. But do you think you're going to put the slops in the green barrel and then have the rodents and the pests and all that? I think it is just way too much. And maybe California will start inspecting inside of your house. Maybe that'll be next. They're going to come through your front door and make sure if you have a garbage disposal, they're going to confiscate it. They might go as far as that. But anyway, I don't think my wife is going to not use the garbage disposal.
Sorry, Mayor, I opened the Pandora's box here.
I wanted to get this in the gun because that's what was going to happen with me. I know everybody feels that way in this room. But anyway, that's just the truth. Somebody can make a motion.
No. We burned him out.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for the City Council to read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce ordinance number 1411, an ordinance adding chapter 13.36 to the Bellflower Municipal Code regarding mandatory organic waste disposal reduction.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So we have a motion by Councilmember Sunny San Ynez, supported by Councilmember Victor Sanchez. Any more discussion? If not, please call for the vote.
Councilmember Santinas,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
No.
Councilmember Hamada,
All right,
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Coops.
Aye.
Thank you, Natalie.
All right, we're moving right through this stuff here. Consent calendar. Any recusals or conflicts on the consent calendar? Does anyone have any conflicts on any of this evening's consent calendar items, or are there items council members wish to pull for separate discussion or consideration?
Victor.
Yes, sir, Ms. San Ynez.
Oh, I'd
14B like boy? Okay. Okay,
14K.
all right. Anyone else have anything they want to discuss or question?
Mr. Mayor, I believe I have a conflict on 14G, or at least it's stated here, but then it also states that this is not a conflict, so,
So you have no-
oh, this is a conflict. I am conflicted out of 14G.
All right, well, as noted,
I believe that's the first time I've conflicted out, so.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Join the party.
Yeah. It took Sonny 3 years to do that. So,
Well, my two colleagues on the right over here are like, I'm like, what?
all right. Mr. Amata, Mr. Dutton, have you anything that you'd like to pull?
No, but I'll move the consent calendar.
All right, let's first listen to 14D and K.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a brief comment on 14D, which is the extension of the contract with O'Neill Ventures. I just want to thank Elizabeth O'Neill of O'Neill Ventures publicly for her work in the city of Bellflower. She's been working with the city for quite some time now, and she is a very instrumental member of the economic development team. And she has done wonderful things for the city, and I'm glad that she's willing to continue her service to the city, and also that we were able to kind of pay for her services, so that's a good thing. So again, Elizabeth, if you're listening, I just want to thank you publicly for all your contributions to make our city better. right?
That was
Thank-
14D. Now
thank you.
14K.
All right, 14K. 14K is on the parking lots. Thank you, Mr. Gorecki, on your work here. We're finally doing something to make it to make our parking more manageable. I just have a question here because on the list of the items here on Exhibit A, most of the enforcements here will be at night, particularly Walnut, Arkansas, and all the full service parks. So my first question is, how do we intend to enforce this new ordinance resolution?
Well, our parking enforcement would enforce it. That's the easy question. What we did here, this resolution was, we added to an existing resolution. So what we had to do is we had to add Arkansas Street into there. And then we also changed the restrictions on Walnut Street parking just so they match up together, because that's a location where we have a lot of overnight parking, and with the way it's currently structured where you can only do no overnight parking on Wednesdays, what we tend to see is a lot of cars get parked in the lot and left there for a couple days, up to 72 hours at a time, which then renders those parking spaces useless to the business community there on Bellflower. So we're going to try something a little different with those lots. There are not a lot of parking stalls, so it's a great opportunity for us to test the no overnight parking period in the community, and that's what we're proposing to do here.
And for the parking lots that there's no overnight parking, will there be enough staffing to do it at night? Because that's where the violations can happen.
Yeah, so it will be no parking from midnight till 6 a.m. That's how we're proposing it 7 days a week at Arkansas and Walnut Street.
Okay. Well, as I said earlier, I'm really glad that we're doing this because we will need the parking because it was really designed for businesses, especially around Bellflower. And allowing 72-hour parking doesn't really help our businesses at all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Sandy Inez. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, actually, if
Okay.
I may, I'd like to pull item F and H, just for a quick comment.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on both of item F and H, I just want to highlight again, Mr. Gorecki here for the traffic measure calming efforts that are being taken place and Virginia Ramona Street, converting the two-way stop to a four-way stop, and also adding a stop sign over on Linden Street and Eucalyptus Avenue. I just want to thank staff for working on those kind of traffic calming measures. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy Inez. Sanchez, excuse me. And so we're going to, again, look for a motion to approve, but of course, we've got Victor Sanchez conflicted out of 14G. Do I have a motion?
He gave you one.
All right, so we got a motion by
I'll second.
Councilmember Dutton, seconded by Councilmember Hamada. Please, roll call.
Councilmember Santa Ynez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Coops.
Aye. Council reports. Let's start with Councilmember Sandy Inez.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I just want to remind our residents again, please join us in celebrating Veterans Day on Wednesday. I think it's going to be a great celebration, especially with the new Veterans Memorial at the Library Gardens. So I hope to see you there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy Inez. Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
I don't have anything tonight.
No, you said it all with the garbage disposal. Councilmember Hamada.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just hopefully quickly here too. Let's see, last month, look at homeless shelter subcommittee. Okay, Councilman Sanchez and I covered it, and again, just to again pass on the good word. The shelter still continues to serve 44 to 46 residents there. I know there was some discussion on some issues in regards to the neighborhood, and those are being worked on by the operator. On the 1st, I was able to attend the SCAG Housing Policy Forum, and what's coming down is, I think, a new battle cry to the state. It's, again, give me tools, not rules. So it's something that I think we're going to be hearing more of. I was able to attend the California Contract Cities, again, Port of LA discussion. Just quickly here, again, we all know that the cargo surge at the ports are just out of hand. But believe it or not, at the LA port, it's not at record high yet. It feels like it, but it's not. But we were told by the deputy director that there are, as of last Thursday, there were 75 ships still anchored out there, again, offshore. So there's plenty of cargo, but there's issues that can't, let them to come on because of the lack of space. There's a lack of trailers and chassis. They're all disappearing because once they leave, we've been told that the empties cannot be brought back. So those chassis are just hanging around out there somewhere. So that's a factor that's tying up the port. Again, they have these gate appointments apparently when movers are supposed to be there, and a lot of them are missing their appointments. So nothing's getting picked up, and I think what they call dwell time is the time that the bins are kind of hanging around there, and it's practically doubled than the usual time, for roughly from 4 to 5 days to 10 days. So right now, they were saying that there's over 78,000 cargo containers at the port of LA right now, just trying to get processed. So on the 4th, I was able to attend the SCAG, the Transportation Committee and the Regional Council. I think the big one that we received information on is a study on SB 9 in regard to the lot splits. That's of single-family residential lots. A study by Cal Berkeley is saying that they believe only 7% of the parcels in California are financially feasible to do these lot splits, and that's going to equate to about 300,000 new homes. So it's still being played out there. It's still trying to figure it out, the numbers, and I think it's again, it's something that's obviously not going to again happen immediately. I think down the road we've been hearing that there'll be more legislation coming down, and that's what we all expect. Because as I mentioned earlier, again, give us tools, not rules. And my favorite thing of the week was Saturday night. I was able to attend the Bellflower Symphony. They had a very nice compilation of songs using just strings, and so there was a piano player plus just a couple, again, percussion players. And they wrapped it up with again Leroy of Anderson's famous sleigh ride song, and it probably is one of the best kept secrets in town. So their next concert is January 29th, and they are again very thankful to the city for allowing them to use the city hall. So look forward to their upcoming concerts. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Amata. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No comment this evening.
All right. So it's my turn to, I'm going to adjourn our meeting tonight in memory of Kirk Reel. I'll give you a little bit of a biography on him. I'd like to adjourn tonight's city council meeting in memory of Kirk Reel, who passed away October 19th at the age of 86. Mr. Reel was a teacher and administrator in our Bellflower Unified School District for over 60 years. He taught at Ernie Powell Elementary School and was principal at Ramona School, Craig Williams School, Esther Lindstrom School, Stephen Foster, and also was the principal at Mayfair High School. Mr. Reel also had a second career at Knott's Berry Farm, where he worked in the various positions, including the jams and jelly shop. He was hired by the Knott family in 1956 as a part-time summer employee and was still on the payroll when he passed away, and he was on a medical leave for hip surgery, and he had every intention of returning to his position at Knott's Berry Farm after recovery. Mr. Reel's parents were employed by Bellflower Unified School District, and Mr. Reel lived in Lakewood in the home in which he was raised. Mr. Reel served as a Parks and Recreational Commissioner for the City of Lakewood and also served on the Pathways Volunteer Hospice Board. For over 50 years, Mr. Reel was active in the Grace Presbyterian Church in Lakewood, where he played the organ and the piano. Mr. Reel was an enthusiastic supporter of the Mayfair High Marching Band and had recently made a substantial and significant donation to the band in order to purchase 7 new sousaphones in their brass section. Teachers portrayed Mr. Reel as an encourager and supporter. One of his strongest attributes was his interaction with students and staff. Mr. Reel would know the names of every student in the elementary schools where he served as principal. Often at recess, he would see Mr. Reel call a student by name and extend words of encouragement. As students, many of us had him as a teacher 60 years ago, still cherish his mentorship, continuing to this day. Mr. Reel was a generous man who gave the gift of giving each day and never asked for a reward or recognition. The students and parents of Bellflower and Lakewood have been truly blessed to have an individual like Kirk Reel, striving not only for education, but to offer sound advice on how to treat others. Mr. Reel is survived by his nieces and nephews. They are Tom Strange, who lives in Everett, Washington, Barbara Purnell, who lives in Modesto, California, Liz Strange, who lives in Lakewood, California, and Jim Strange of Bakersfield, California. Private services were held for Mr. Reel last week at Forest Lawn Cemetery, and early part of December there will be a memorial service celebrating his life at his home church, Grace Church in Presbyterian Church in Lakewood. So my heart goes out, and as does the whole council, for the loss of Mr. Reel, who was an important part of our community, and we can truly say he made our cities better. So at this time, it is 7:47, and we're going to adjourn this meeting in memory of Kirk Reel, and the next regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council will be held at 5:30 p.m. Monday, November 22nd, 2021. We stand adjourned.